everybody. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host. I have with me today 3 of my 4 compatriots, and I would introduce them. Today, though, we're going to talk about the U.S. game that we're going to play. We're going to play, when is the game? The 8th, yes?
Yeah.
The 8th. So
yeah.
Let me start my introduction. All the way down to the left is Narada Wilson, my co-host. Welcome, Narada.
Always a pleasure to be here again, and this panel discussion should be very entertaining.
And next to Narada is Angus Eve. Welcome to the set, Angus.
Thanks for having me back, guys. I always enjoy my time here.
You want to tell the viewers where you've been? We said hi to you. Did you hear us last time?
Well, I was in Trinidad right here, but unfortunately, you know, I'm getting ready for the upcoming season, and I've been a bit busy, so I apologize for that.
Okay, viewers, we have Angus back. We're happy to have you back, Angus. And next to Angus is Alvin Henderson. Alvin, welcome back to the set, bud.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I enjoy the lively discussion on football that we always seem to have.
Okay, viewers, sit back. We're going to talk about that game coming up with the United States in Colorado, guys. Why do you think they put them in Colorado? Is there a reason for that, you think?
Well, I'll start off by saying actually we are the second thought about Colorado, because the U.S. is actually preparing for 2 games. They're preparing for Trinidad, yes, but they're also preparing for Mexico. And they thought that they would have a preparation, including the Trinidad and Tobago game, for the Mexico game. But they actually plan to use 2 sets of players for both games, because the Mexico game is actually closer, on a closer date to the normal date that they should be playing. And the reason for that is that Mexico has to prepare for the Gold Cup. So Bruce Arena has already decided that he is going to use a different set of players for his second game against Mexico. But remember, he has not seen a lot of the players because he's new to the setup, and he wanted to get a good group in camp early, which he was able to achieve, so that you get a good look at everybody and then decide on players for each game. The players for the Trinidad game, and then the players for the Mexico game.
I also heard that the MLS players, the American players who play in the MLS, they got released early as compared to like our players who play in the MLS. They only released 5 days before or something like that. The U.S. players got released a couple weeks ago to go and practice with their team.
Well, that is not dissimilar to what we have done here, because our players from our league that we control have been a couple weeks now. Have been in training with Coach Dennis Lawrence. They're actually in camp in Colorado as we speak.
Okay.
So the U.S. haven't done anything differently than what we haven't done. They won't be able to get the European players. They are now going to be joining the normal 5 days before. But some of the European base players are already there because their leagues have just ended. So they do have an advantage in that regard, in the sense that our players who play in their league, they go by the FIFA law, and the FIFA law is 5 days before.
Right.
But to say that is dissimilar to what we have done, because we have made an arrangement in the TT Pro League to release the players 2 weeks in advance, which we have done. And I think America have taken the same stance. They are not obligated, in the interest of fair play maybe, but they're not obligated to release our players until 5 days before any game.
So, Narada, what about the high altitude, buddy? You feel the tickets there because?
Well, it's the same reason why I would say why we don't bring them here to play at 3 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes, you know.
Right.
I think it's an advantage that they use. What I would say is that by any research or any experience, the fact that our team was able to get in by at least 2 weeks before means that we have considered the high altitude being a factor. The fact that we have 2 games, you know, we get a very tough preparation with the U.S., and then we go into Costa Rica, who also is going to play us at an altitude as well. So the coach was lucky enough to get his boys in a couple weeks before. Maybe it was a consideration by the Pro League as well, as to why the players should be released a little before, because the acclimatization process, some people say the 7 to 10 days, but it's actually better if it's over about 12 days, you know. So I think the US is playing to advantage. The lucky thing that they have also is that they have called in about 10 to almost 15 of their players who are based in Europe, which means, you know, some of the guys who playing in Germany and stuff like that have the experience of being in a colder climate or whatever constantly. So I think him calling out, I think is a squad of about 27. You're really seeing America pulling out all stuff because they know their position right now. They know their next game against Mexico is really going to put them in the driver's seat or where they would be for the next round after the halfway point of the hex. And I think we just have to be grateful that we got the time, enough time to acclimatize, I would say.
And maybe that's why they're playing us in high altitude, right?
Well,
so they can get Mexico in high altitude.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's really for preparation for the Mexico game. One of the things about release of players, did we ask for release of players before?
I don't know.
Did we ask for the release of the MLS players before? We don't know.
I don't know.
We reacted to the fact that the MLS players were released, but did we ask? Were we proactive and asked for them beforehand? I doubt it, perhaps because we felt that they would always be released by the FIFA rule, which is 5 days before. One of the things that about high altitude, and one of the things that our players, I'm glad a large majority of our players are there, even the ones who are home from the postseason play, is that generally there's a time period. There were theories that had come up in between over the years that you don't need to go to high altitude. You can go there the day before, and then adjust. And that is not true. That is only for non-endurance events. If I'm going to run 100 meters where I'm still on
10 seconds.
Then I don't need to acclimatize. I could fly in the day before, run my 100 meters. But for endurance events, there's a formula now that you need a certain number of days for every level 1,000 feet above sea level. And it's easy to calculate. Even people who are there 2 weeks before, you are still not at 100% of your acclimatization, because the acclimatization is actually increasing your red blood cells in your body so that you have increased oxygen carrying capacity. And that physiologic process takes time. So you 2 weeks before gives you 85 to 90% preparation. And the fitter you are, the better it is. The fitter you are at sea level, the better it is. But you are still at a disadvantage having not been there on a regular basis all the time. Now, Michael Williams, who plays for Colorado, he should not have the effects of high altitude sickness or anything else, because he's been there all the time and he's been training at high altitude for a long time.
Right. You think, since we're going in there a little bit earlier, you think we'd have a big problem, or I think?
I actually had the opportunity to do the both things. One was we went in early, and we played South America over there. And the other time we went to Mexico in the Azteca, and we went in with the premise that you can go in the day before and just go and operate. I remember that World Cup campaign well some good years ago, and Jared Nixon still recovering from a run up to today, you know, because he just had nothing. I mean, I remember Brent Sancho, he never got on the pitch. He was on the bench, and he used out all the oxygen in one of the tanks, you know. So there's, as Doc rightly said, you know, and Doc is more qualified than us to actually speak about that. But from my own experiences, it's very difficult to do. And I think that it wouldn't affect the Mexicans as much. They're accustomed to that sort of weather and that sort of high altitude, because most of their players are also playing outside of Mexico. There are very few of them still playing in Mexico, and they would have the opportunity to play in the Azteca, to play in all these venues at that high altitude. So the only team there could be at a disadvantage would be us in this 2-game series. I also believe that America thinks that we are the whipping boys. I think most teams looking at us as the whipping boys and think that if they go in there and carry us at this altitude, it will give them a good base when they play against the Mexicans, because then they probably telling themselves if they can run up a goal score, about four goals, goal difference would mean a lot in a mini tournament like this.
Right.
There's even, you know, they're boasting. I saw on one of the websites where they're saying that, you know, when you reach the halfway point of the hex, most of the teams that qualify usually have gained a lot of points at home. And they're going on this premise that they, you know, whip Honduras by about 6. So they're looking at getting as much as possible against Trinidad at home, so it will set them on a path for the next couple of games.
Well, we have to admit that historically we have not played well against the U.S. on their home soil. The only time I remember in our World Cup rounds of qualification that we got a point was the 1989, and everybody remembers that goal by Hudson Charles after a diving 1-2 header with Marlon Morris. But since then, we have failed to gain even a draw on their home soil. So it is going to be tough. It's going to be extremely hard to get a point in either game. If we come out with any kind of result from either game, either in the U.S. or Costa Rica, I think we're well on the way to still having the impetus to qualify for Russia. That should give us a boost if we get a point from either match that we have to play over the next week or two.
It's amazing how these people think combatively. They look at everything to gain an advantage.
Yep.
And I don't think we do that. Do you?
I don't think we do it. And I want to say that a couple of years ago, we played in one of the other World Cup campaigns, and we played, I think it would have been under Ian Porterfield. And we played America in the Queen's Park Oval. We lost the game 2-1.
Correct.
But they didn't like it. We beat Mexico there 1-0. I think Russell had scored that day. And we played Costa Rica there also. And nobody liked it. Nobody liked playing there. I'm seeing, if the ground was approved then, I believe the ground can be approved now. I agree with Narada. We are giving up our home advantage. But you might ask yourself, do we have home advantage playing 3 o'clock in the day? Because most of our players are playing away anyway. Right. You know, so there's a catch-22 there for us to look at. But also, when you look at the surface that is there in the Queen's Park Oval, it's very fast. It's a little bit lower. Our players are traditionally quick players, and I think we do have those type of players, skillful, quick players now. It's very difficult to keep your foot in. We know that type of savannah grass, we call it. And I just think that, you know, maybe we need to visit something like that. Maybe we need to visit, because all you need to do is just grow the grass a little bit on the turf so that it raises to a good level. The Jamaica pitch is very bad. The office is a bad pitch, but that's their home advantage. The Bajan pitch, it has coral in it, but that's the advantage, you know. And I think that we really have to visit or revisit the venue that we're playing on, because as far as I know, the National Stadium has been criticized for the lights and how old that ground is. And the Queen's Park Oval lights are very new lights, and it's very modern facilities there. And maybe let's throw a couple of games in there and see what happens.
That could be good. And traditionally, too, we do play good on wet grounds. I know when, back in the day, we smiling when the ground is wet.
I just want to bring up a story. You know, while Angus was talking, I just remembered a story. We had a groundsman at St. Mary's called Mikey.
Right.
I remember Mikey. And I used to go down and tell Mikey the day before, Mikey, we playing against QRC, Roger Matthews, and the big fellas there. We need it wet. We need it wet to have some kind of, you know, but we don't need it very wet. We need it just a little slick so that our speed will be an advantage and whatnot. But we don't seem, as Angus has said, we don't seem to take advantage of our home as much as we used to in the past. I know Gali, when he was there, was trying to do things like that, wet the ground and whatnot, so that we would have our advantage where speed is concerned. Angus, you talked about, and Narada talked about hot weather. Trust me, I have been through that in the past, and our players hate it. They do not like to play in hot sun, especially the ones who are coming from abroad. They don't like to play in hot sun. Our players like to play in the cool of the afternoon or the evening, and they hate the 3 o'clock. To me, affects us more than them, because oftentimes the U.S., when they know that it's a 3 o'clock game, they take their team down to Florida for a week before they come to us.
You think so? I think we don't like it, but I think we adjust to it better than those other people. Because
I was going to say, I think naturally, just like you said with the acclimatization, the fact that they've been there all the time, right? We, even though we're playing abroad, we've grown up playing in the savannah in the hot sun at some point. So
don't like
maybe naturally we're more inclined to accept it if we have to do it.
Well, I think when you look at Coach Dennis Lawrence, the training patterns, he trains in the afternoons. They train when the weather is cool. So if you're training when the weather is cool, then you're not really getting ready to play a game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But I don't think it's something that we can revisit. And we have different types of facilities that we can use. You know, I think the facilities down at Manny Ramjan is top notch. And the pitch is, I think, is the best pitch we have in the country. There's no lights up there, but it's a good place for the guys to play. Maybe a 3 o'clock game, a 3:30 game. I remember that game with Costa Rica. Doc actually played at 1:30 in the Queen's Park Oval. So it has been done in the past.
It's something for us to look into.
And I think also, you know, maybe even if it was a possibility, the Queen's Park Oval, there's also the atmosphere of the oval type setting in terms of the crowd. When there's full, it's a different atmosphere opposed to most of the stadia that we do have in the country. So it does give you that sort of, it's almost like, to an extent, the Boca Juniors River Plate kind of stadium where you have everybody's on top of you, you know. So I think it's an option, not only there, but we should look at taking the advantage, because all the other teams at the highest level, they do take it.
And I know the Oval has been our bread and butter ground growing up, but I mean, this is another era now. Viewers, we have to take a break now. We'll be right back after this short break.
I expect that the major guys on the US team will start. The Dempseys, Altidores, the Bradleys, and Tim Howard in goal. I expect that those 4 guys will start.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Before the break, we were talking, guys, about you know, conditions and high altitude and all the other things. And guess what, viewers? Larry showed up. So let me take time to introduce Larry. Larry Joseph to the set. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Steve, and I apologize for being late.
Apologize to the viewers. Tell them you...
Viewers, I apologize for being late.
Larry got stuck in traffic, viewers, so we have to excuse him. But he's with us now, and we continue, guys. So now we have the game against the U.S. on the 8th. Let us talk about what we expect from that game, from our team and from the U.S. team.
I think, well, just to get the ball rolling, I think it's a experimental game for them. You know, there are a lot of young, bright players. I also think there are a lot of more inexperienced players that he could use. You know, a lot of the players, almost about 15 of them I was checking, that have less than about 10 or 8 caps at the World Cup wrong level. So I think the coach, because it's been like, I think this is like his 4th game since he's back, it is going to be an opportunity where he's going to look at a lot of players. You have the young, I think the Guzman and these Guzan and stuff coming into the team, you know, some players with a lot of European experience. And it's an opportunity for these guys to solidify the place for the next game, which is what they're really concerned about. And there are some of the older faces, the Dempsey and all these guys who, you know, they're returning to the team after some injury, some little issues that they had. And it's an opportunity for them to really see who are the guys they're going to take to the next round.
I think I want to disagree a little bit, Narada, in the sense that saying that is a new coach and is going to experience. We said earlier in the show that America doesn't take anything for chance.
Fair enough.
And Jürgen Klinsmann would have been on the fringes for a while. And I believe that Bruce Arena would have been approached a while back, meaning that he's coached in the American League for a while now. He has one of the top teams in the league in LA Galaxy. So what he would have been doing is looking at these players. So I don't believe that he's calling these young players by chance. Okay. I think he'd have seen these players play the first hand. And I mean, the foreign-based players, they're playing in the bigger leagues. You know, they're playing in the English Premier League. They're playing in the Bundesliga. So he could see those players on tapes week in, week out. They're not sub-players. Wood and these guys are starting for the squads. The big kid at Hamburg at the back, he's also Judd Brooks. And all these players are starting for the team. So I believe that he would have known these players and he calling in these players, meaning that he think that they could bring something to the table and they could bring something to the team. And I think that the kind of squad that they have, the turnover is so short for the other game. I think that he would, I agree with Doc, I think that they would use two squad of players. He may not make wholesale changes, but you might see about 4 or 5 men who play in the first game don't start in the second game and then rotate them in that manner.
There's something else to consider. And he's playing away in Mexico City in his second game. So he has to have what should be his best team, is the best players and the best team available for that Mexico game. He has a number of his quality players on yellow cards at the moment. Correct. And I think Bradley's on a yellow card, as well as Beasler, Gonzalez, one of the defenders in the back. And some of his what he would consider his starting 11, they're on yellow cards, so he has to be wary about that, and they may not be available for the Mexico game if something happens in the Trinidad game. So I think he is going to take that into consideration, and we may be seeing in the Trinidad game some of the more inexperienced players who are not on yellow cards. That doesn't mean that we're not going to see the Dempseys and whatnot. He wants to win this game. The U.S. wants to win this game, but they have to be careful in trying to win the Trinidad game that they don't put themselves in a big hole going to Mexico where they get nothing out of that game too. They want to get points there as well. A couple of their players, I don't mind them playing against us. For instance, Brooks, good player. I've seen him play several times, but very susceptible to being caught in wide positions by quick players. So he doesn't react well to people coming at him and dribbling him. So we have to be wary of that on our side. And if someone like Brooks is playing, why not throw a Nathan Lewis at him or somebody like a Plaza who would be able to take him on one-on-one and not just let's do the same old and come out with the same old result. This is a chance we have never won recently against the U.S. Let's do something different and see if we could get a different result.
What do you think, Larry?
I think the comments are spot on in terms of the U.S. approach to the game. I was reading Bruce's interview with U.S. Soccer just before I came up, and he has already stated that he's going to be using 2 different teams for the 2 games because of the short turnover between the 2 games. Obviously, he believes that Trinidad and Tobago represents a surer 3 points than the Mexico game. So if he said do any sort of experimentation, it would have to be against us. So the fact that he called 27 guys into camp for these 2 games does suggest that he may take a little liberty against Trinidad without losing too much of the quality that's expected from a team of America's stature. I expect that the major guys on the US team will start. The Dempseys, Altidores, the Bradleys, and Tim Howard in goal. I expect that those 4 guys will start against us, and probably see changes depending on how the game goes and the results and stuff. But obviously with an eye on the Mexico game 4 days later, away. 3 points 4 days before the Mexico game will take some of the pressure off Bruce's America's team. So he's not going to allow the Trinidad and Tobago game to influence him too much, in the sense that his next opponent is Trinidad and Tobago. That's his concentration, with an eye on the Mexico game, of course, but believing that he could pinch 3 points from Trinidad and Tobago. You know, America is the land of statistics, so they know we have never beaten them away. Matter of fact, we hardly beaten them even at home. The records is so overwhelming in their favor. And even in that Colorado venue, where we've had poor success against them, hence the reason why they chose that particular venue. So I believe they have cautious optimism that they will get our 3 points from us. And, well, what goes on in the Mexico game, you know, that's a dogfight by itself. So that's what I'm expecting in terms of team selection from Bruce. All right? And we just have to wait to see what goes on with Trinidad and Tobago in terms of our selection and how we match up and what's available for us in terms of playing personnel. You know, when we get to that part, you know, I'll put my pennies worth in terms of the Trinidad selection.
Well, I think they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us and to get as much goals as they can. They're home, and they need the 3 points. And then if they can pick up 3 points in Mexico, they're in. If they can pick up 6 points in these 2 games, they're in. So I feel they're going to come hard at us, get as many goals as they can, and then go to Mexico. And if they get 1 point, they're okay with that too.
Well, even the guys, sorry, Steve, even the guys who they've brought in who may not have much international experience, remember their MLS season is in full swing. So Bruce would have been having a look at those guys and would have only included them because they would have impressed him sufficiently enough that he believes they could make a contribution to the present team in these 2 games coming up. So I don't expect that their level of intensity will drop at all. The American culture is one of dominance.
Right.
Whatever they do, they want to dominate. And you know how it is, Angus, when you get into a team as a fresh player, you want to impress. Your energy level and enthusiasm is up. So they're not going to lose anything on the enthusiasm and energy level, even with some of the newer guys. Yeah.
And I think that is where we missed the boat. And I think several people here, Doc just mentioned it, and Larry pointed out on the American side, but he's saying a similar thing for our side. We had the kid Boswin. Yeah, it's Barbados he came on with in. But he showed enthusiasm. He showed like he wanted to score. He was running about the place and he was trapping out about. You seen young Akeem Roach. He's hustling. He's getting. We need to freshen up the team a little bit. I think it's a little bit too monotonous. We picking the same guys over and over. If you speak to Stephen Hart today, he's going to ask you, well, what has Dennis really changed? And I'm talking about by way of personnel. So if you're saying that we fired Stephen Hart because we wanted to see some sort of change, yes, I do agree. We have a little bit more energy going about the team, probably a little bit more ball possession. But really, what? You know, you might ask yourself, because we have the same personnel playing, the same people being selected. And I think the teams on the outside now, they know who we are. They know who we have. They know who to mark. And we need to throw some spanners in the wheel. Jovan Jones, I've said it the other day, and I said it was radical when I said it, that I would put him back left back. He's scoring goals, he's creating assists, and he's doing everything from left back. We have players like Levi Garcia, Nathan Lewis, and all these players who can play on the flanks. I'm going to say it again. I would have gone with 5 at the back We turn into a 5 in midfield when we attack in, with 2 up front, 2 pacey runners who can but nullify the Americans when they're coming forward and close up shop, take the crowd out of the game and play a counter-attacking game with 2 very quick. Because they will suck themselves in because they will want to win. They will want to come and get goals against us. And if we have 2 quick strikers up front, as Doc rightly said, Willis Plaza is very unpredictable. He's one of the most unpredictable players that we have. You never know if he's going left, right, shooting. You know, and that is what we need to do. We need to throw America something different. Because they, as Larry well said, they are a country of statistics. They would have been looking over all of our tapes, seeing the formation of the team, seeing the rules. And Kevin Molino does not play in midfield. In America, he plays on the flanks for his team, where he comes off that flank and he creates havoc for his team. And when we play him at number 10, we type and nullify him because America is going to go in tight and they're going to squeeze him. They're going to double team Jovan Jones, as they did in the game here. They played Fabian Johnson and the other boy at left back. 2 left backs they play in that game. 2 right backs, wing backs, to nullify him because they know them. They're playing them week in, week out. Show something different. That's me.
If I could throw a question at you guys, because of the experience, both as players and in the technical capacity, is it better for us to start with some of our less experienced players so that if the altitude kicks in and they start to tire, we have the stronger guys? Or is it better that we use the more experienced players that would be able to handle the altitude and then maybe somewhere to the end we throw in the guys with the faster bursts and stuff like that?
I think for our team, I'm saying 8 of the 11 actually picked themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to have many changes. The changes are going to be between 3 players.
Yeah.
And we're looking at just changes mainly a winger and somebody up front.
Yeah.
And possibly a midfielder.
I think in the back too, Doc.
Yeah. So it's going to be, I think Bato and them will be
He'll
back.
be back,
Yeah.
So
back.
our team
Already, I think from what they said is that we already, some of the players that went, I think 5 were supposed to come back once it reached close to the game.
Yeah.
So I agree with Angus that we have to let them come at us. My fear is, and I don't want to see this happening, I don't want us to park the bus in front of our goal and feel that we could defend for 90 minutes and get a point. That's not Trinidad and Tobago.
No.
We must play on the counter-attack and we must be prepared to come out as a team on the counter. Whether we do it with 4 at the back or 5 at the back, which is actually allowing them to be sucked in even further, we have to play on the counter-attack and be willing to break and be brave and come out on the counter without actually sacrificing as we did in the game. I went and looked back at the tape where we got beaten recently in the 4-0 game against them.
Yeah.
And actually, we were doing quite well until about the 40th minute of the first half.
Yeah.
We had reasonable possession. They were coming at us, but we were counter-attacking against them quite well, and we were doing quite well. But we got a goal against us. It's in the second half that if you look at that game in the second half only, you have to ask yourself, which is the home team here? Because we were going forward and without a care for coming back and defending, and we were getting caught upfield without our midfielders trying to defend in any sphere. So we have to be careful about how we defend and extremely careful about how we counter-attack. And our midfielders and our experience with the Mexico game has shown us that our midfielders are able to defend against high-level teams. And I don't see why they shouldn't have some confidence in being able to defend against the Bradleys and the Pulisics and whatnot.
And I totally agree with that. I looked at that America game also. I actually thought that our problem was personnel at the back. Abu Bakr played that game, and he's not the quickest. So when we went forward and we were attacking, when it was time to come for us to defend, we were very open because we didn't have pace at the back. Bato was suspended for that game. He couldn't play in that game. Daniel Cyrus wasn't in that game. We saw Curtis Gonzalez, who has now come to the fore. And hence the reason I'm saying that I would have gone with 3 at the back. We have Mikel Williams on one side, and these experienced players who played in that league is a natural left footer, so that when we do go forward, now we have a base of 3 young, quick, experienced defenders in Bato can come back into the team. At the back with Daniel Cyrus as a 3, who are very quick across the ground and they can cover, and Jovin on the left, Keto down the right, and get these guys to go and play this counter-attacking game. Kevin George likes to sit in the middle, leave him in there and allow Callum Highland and they to go and join. And when we lose the ball, regroup. Not as far as our 18-yard line, maybe about 20 meters outside of there. And we keep the line very compact and keep the field in 2/3 of the game. Keep the game, in 2/3 of the field.
Well, I was in that Jacksonville game that Doc was talking about. I think I mentioned it in one of the previous games. And it was a game of 2 halves. I mean, the first half, we looked like a team that was well coached and well oiled. And then, the whistle blew for the second half, and it's like if we didn't come out of the dressing room. For the same reason that Doc and Angus has intimated, it was shocking. Because nothing prepared you for the second half. We looked so good and tight. We were matching them. There was good ball possession. We were coming out of the back with passes, and we looked like a national team. In the second half, we kind of resorted to what we expect, like from the West Indies team, a kind of batting collapse. That was under a different coach, under Dennis now. I'm sure with Dennis's defensive acumen, I am expecting to see a tighter, more compact performance from the defenders in this, especially playing away from home. Dennis has already said part of his philosophy is that we start with 1 point of every game, right? So we already have a point. When you go to play the game, you have to make sure firstly you don't lose that 1 point. That's a defender talking there, right? So it's left to see what his approach would be like. It can't be far off from what we are suggesting here, obviously, because we have to take into consideration, 1, where we are in the group. We for last. But there's just like a 3-point difference between last and third. Yeah. Yeah. So 1 victory could change the whole standings on the table, right? And I am quietly confident that Dennis can instill something in these guys. Looking at the Mexico game before the break, we didn't do too badly, And I believe we can be very competitive against America. I agree with Doc and Angus. We have some players, if on the night they turn up, we can cause sufficient trouble to the Americans where we can cause them to doubt. Because Americans are really confident people, and sometimes to the point of being overconfident. We can at least stick a pin in some of that confidence. If, let's say, we hold them at least close to the first half and be even with them, obviously, that is going to cause a lot of doubt in their dressing room.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I want us to discuss what is Dennis going to do with our team. We'll be right back after the short break.
In somewhere deep down in Dennis's mind, I believe he's probably playing on it where he's probably telling himself, listen, they still have respect for Kenwin Jones. They still have to mark Kenwin Jones because America do go on stats, as Larry said.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, viewers, welcome back. Hey, guys, let's talk now about what we think Dennis is going to throw at them. How he's going to, what his plans are, you think?
Well, let me start off by saying that he has a dilemma that I will solve for him right now. That even despite the fact that that Cyrus and Gonzalez had outstanding games in the 2 games that we have at home, we need a Sheldon Batu. We need his experience. We need his quickness. We need his ability in the back. So he has to come back in and play. Now, whether he would play alongside a Gonzalez and then shift Cyrus to a right back position in a 4 with Michael Williams on the left, I feel Michael Williams will play. He's the one who is in Colorado, training at Colorado, has all the benefits of high altitude. So he's going to play. So Cyrus may come inside, or as I don't think he'll shift that. No, I think he'll play the 4,
he will.
And he might play that Cyrus in a position that I don't like to see Cyrus play. I really don't like him on the outside. I think he plays better when he jumps.
I agree with you.
But he has a dilemma in that he has to drop either Gonzalez or Cyrus if he chooses to use Aubrey David the right wing back or Carlos Edwards. Should Carlos start? Should he play? A lot will depend on how he has adjusted to the high altitude up there, because what Carlos Edwards will give you in a game like that is experience, especially to try and calm the fellas down in the first half. But what he will not give you as a 37-year-old is the ability to run up and down the park. So I would favor using a younger player like an Aubrey David as my right back. I don't like Daniel Cyrus at right back. So I would use, in my team, I would use Batu and Cyrus.
But Cyrus might not go because he might be winded. So that might be good for Cyrus to hold and not go like he go and can't come back.
Yeah, I still think we're going to use Jovin Jones and Molino and Highland where they played before, and George where they played before. The key, I think, is going to be a decision, and he has this decision to make, whether he's going to start his captain or not. Because the captain, I've been waiting to see the captain play. And I keep watching Atlanta, and all I'm seeing in him is on the bench. He has hardly played. He scored 2 goals, but he has hardly played. The last match, he played 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes. So I am a little wary of starting Kenwin Jones in a situation like that at high altitude where we are wanting to play a counter-attack system. I would bring him on. Now, Atlanta plays the kind of football that I would like to see Trinidad play. You see players running behind the defenders back, and Jones can't fit into that philosophy.
So you leave him on? I
would leave him on the bench and bring on the other type of direct play late in the game.
No, I tend to agree with that part. I think for the first, if we have to say is the first half of the game, I think if we surprise them with the runners, maybe going in with 2 attacking players, the Plaza and one of the other guys or something like that, and bringing in the captain after, because I believe if we start on that note, we're not taking advantage to the fact that at the altitude, the longer we're there, it's probably going to, add some pressure onto the guys. So I think we need to go out full guns blazing, not exposing anything in the back, but have the guys attacking the football, for at least if we could do it for the first half. I think that's better than we playing a slower game waiting, and then, they turn up the heat and we can respond to it at a later stage in the game. In terms of the midfield, I think rightly, as I guess everybody agreed, the experienced guys are going to be in the midfield. They all, 80% of them are playing their trade in the US as well, in terms of that group right there. What would be nice, and I think it would happen, is that we have the opportunity that if the regular guys start, the substitutes in the second half, hopefully, would be guys that are runners as well. You could look to your bench and see a Nathan Lewis and 1 or 2 of these other guys who are very quick players, even if you look at Akeem Roach, if they end up staying, because I know some of the guys are supposed to be released. We really could surprise America, because we're not going to our bench to be bringing in guys who could hold up the play. We're going to be bringing in guys who are skillful, and I think they may not be prepared for that. If it works for us, it's a plus. If it doesn't, well.
I think all of us said when Dennis took over that Kenwin was an important player for us. But we didn't believe that he would have started immediately. we didn't believe also that he would have been given the armband back. And Dennis have done the both things. So it leads me to believe that Dennis trusts the player, regardless of how much minutes he's playing with his club. And it seems like he would be the captain. In somewhere deep down in Dennis's mind, I believe he's probably playing on it where he's probably telling himself, listen, they still have respect for Kenwyne Jones. They still have to mark Kenwyne Jones because America do go on stats, as Larry said, and Kenwyne has played all over the world, and they would look at that and think that he's one of the players there. I do believe the midfield won't change either. Very, very little. Maybe Kato's side may have some sort of change. That is the only side, but they wouldn't change the other four. Kevin, Highland, George, who have been playing excellent, by the way. Kato's side, maybe, I don't know. They do have an option of playing Gonzalez at right back because Gonzalez is a good defender and he can trap up and down the sides. He has played right wing back for Defence Force and for the younger national teams in the past. And I believe Bato would come back to play with Daniel Cyrus or Gonzalez, as you could see it, and Michael Williams over the left. I think we're not going to see much changes in the Trinidad team. Dennis has shown that once he trusts someone, he sticks with them. Because he had the two youngsters from Trinidad, and then when Bato then came back, he didn't play them because he had a level of trust in the guys. Now he has had time to work with Sheldon Bato. I think he would see the value of a Sheldon Bato in the side, and he would bring him in the starting team back again for this America game. And I think if he's thinking like us, I know he's come the Martinez school of play. They like to play for expansive football. But I would hope that he curbs some of his expansiveness because we need at least 2 points from these two games.
Yeah, I think Dennis doesn't have the luxury as the American coach of having a large pool of quality players to choose from. That is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, sometimes when your options are limited, it makes selection easier. You know. 80% of our team selects itself. We don't know what's happening in these 2 weeks of camp. I know some people who are close to selection usually get selected or drop during the camps, depending on how the sessions go and that sort of stuff. But there would be very little flexibility in the team from the Mexico game to this America game. I believe once Bato doesn't get injured in training, he should come straight back into the starting team. Kenwyne, I think Dennis made a huge statement when he had him walk out of that national stadium in front of 15,000 people as the captain. I can't see him retracting on that now. You know, regardless that Kenwyne hasn't been playing because of making that statement. You know, you have to continue to go along that line. Personally, I would not have started Kenwyne as if I was the coach. I would not have. You know, I would have gone for more fluid players instead of the post-up guy as Kenwyne. You know, that's me. But because I think Dennis has already shown his hand with Kenwyne, that Kenwyne will start and will have the armband, then we could expect that he will build his forward play around Kenwyne. All right? I expect Cameron to start for America. He plays for Stoke where Kenwyne used to play. So he's aware of Kenwyne, you know, and they have huge respect when Kenwyne was in England playing for Stoke. So Dennis may look at that. You know, the Cameron guy is really good in the air, not very quick on the ground. It's left to be seen how that matchup goes, you know. But the midfield picks itself. As Angad says, the right side would be the toss-up, whether he wants to go with Kato or somebody else. I expect Levi would be one of the first changes to come on. I do expect him to start. Depending, of course, on what the game is like. If you're leading, of course, you'll want to hold. If you're behind, then you would want to throw all the attacking options on. Yeah,
so who's the new faces we're going to start with?
Well, we don't have any new faces. We have Nathan Lewis, who is new.
Who is new on this team, on this game? Who are we going to bring on? The doc says Kenwyne has to be not start. So that is the only person I see making a call. Other than that, you guys are making no calls. Who are we going to bring?
No, well, I would replace Kenwyne with Willis.
So that you're going to make
with Plaza, because I think we should have brought on Plaza a little earlier in the Mexico game at home. I thought so personally. because he just got about 15 minutes and he was giving them hell for the 15 minutes.
You got less than that.
You know, so
about 11
for me, if I wasn't starting him in this game against America, my thoughts would have been that I was going to give him some playing time, quality playing time, because he is very shifty and can cause problems to the Americans. So I would have replaced Kenwin with Plaza.
Start the game.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I think
let's see what he does.
said I go in
You
with
know.
two strikers. It has to be Plaza and if it's Botswain or one of the other guys. I believe, yes, I understand. I think with Kenwin, what comes is a numerical advantage to an extent. Most teams, when they play against Kenwin, they always throw two guys on him. And if we have the likes of Jovian Jones and Kevin Molino, we've seen where we could subtract numbers from the American team because they're going to be so preoccupied with those guys. But for me, Kenwin is not starting that game. It's Plaza and one of the other strikers.
One of the players I feel is getting a little bit of a raw deal on our team is Winchester. He's the only player in the history of me watching Trinidad football who scored a hat-trick in a competitive game for Trinidad and Tobago and got dropped for the next match. He didn't get on the squad. Again, he plays a practice game here. He's the only one to score. He's a goal scorer. Goal scorers, in my opinion, sometimes they don't play
good, but
they score. All right, but they score.
Yes.
And we have not been scoring goals. So I would keep a Winchester on my bench. I might not start him, but I think we gave him a raw deal. You score a hat-trick against Haiti and you get dropped. Steve, if that had happened to you, what would you do?
We probably wouldn't have the show today.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Actually, I drove into the parking lot and I see a sign says reserve. I know it's not for me to park there.
But you know, it's like, I think what we are trying to think what Dennis is thinking.
Yeah.
But I think from the panel here, you can hear what we thinking, that we should do something a little bit different.
Yeah,
We should throw in a Plaza. We should throw in a Nathan Lewis. Players who are very unpredictable and do something that you don't expect. And, you know, we're very predictable, I think, right now. Our team is very, very, very predictable.
We're dealing
and
with a team that does research. And with the guys that we're talking about, some of these guys, they can't get enough information on them because they've been playing in Trinidad for a long period where we may not really keep records of all our stats. So training, even on Winchester, as you say, the Americans don't have enough information on him because there's not enough information on him. So I think we need to make that little...
Let me put you guys in the spot. Let me put you guys in the spot. I want to know what the score is going to be. Let's start with whoever wants to start. Give me the score.
You playing another forward?
I think we should start with Steve. Steve, you've played over there. What you think? Because you've played over there, I think we should start with you.
With me?
Yeah, to give what you think the score could be.
The score? It's going to be similar to the last score, time we played them. I don't think...
We lost 4-0 the last time we played them.
Well, we might do a little better, might lose like 3-1 or something. But I don't think we're going to win the game. I think we have too many things against us, but we're hoping, We're all hoping that we win.
Correct.
But honestly, I feel we're going to lose like a 3-1 or 4-1 game.
Well, I don't think we'll get as many as 4. I think it's going to be a 2-1 score in favor of the Americans. My analytical hat says that. My hopeful hat as a Trinidadian hopes that it's a 1-1 tie, a 1-1 draw.
Right.
But I honestly feel that 2-1 would be the final score in favor of the Americans.
Okay.
The Trinidad side of me says 2-2. Coming out with a draw, I think, is a very credible result, and I think that we really need it. We'll still be alive. I think I give America the edge 3-1.
That's my analytical result in my head, a 3-1 advantage to America. My patriotic heart would take a draw.
We all would. And you?
I think for me, honestly, analytically, I'm seeing the 2-1 in favor of America. Because I believe we're going to score. I think we could score. We have the ability. But I also believe with America having their record, I think Josie Altidore is like their top scorer against Trinidad or something like that. He's a pasty guy. He's fast. I think he could handle what we could throw at him. And I believe the team is going to build something to give him that advantage. But the patriotic side, I actually want a 2-2 draw because I want us to score again to prove that that one goal is not all we're limited to.
All right, I give one person to make closing remarks as to hopefully remarks for the country. Anybody?
Well, Anga seems to be delegating it to me as I
As
came
it
in
just
late.
came, Larry, I mean, you might as well.
1 minute.
Well, we're on the road again. We have 2 games on the trot. At the end of these 2 games, we'll know exactly where we are in terms of Russia. So I am hoping that we are still alive for the other rounds. So I'm hoping for the best for our team.
Okay, guys, we come to the end. I want to thank ACTN for giving us the opportunity. I want to thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Thank you so much to the panel, guys. Thank you for all this good information, and hopefully we get a good result. We're all hoping for that.
Yes, yeah.
All right. We do have a Facebook page. Check us out. We do have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. Drop us a line. The show's ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. I'll see you next week. Good night.